All right, well, welcome everybody. I'm here taking over Trickster Gengar's channel with a deck profile.
That's not my YouTube name anymore.
Yeah, I guess it's Gagnar now. But I got Nami that we went to the pre-release tournament with. We were able to run set 4 cards with and build your own decks. And we got third out of 64. Won the pre-release winner, Luffy. So I thought this one was pretty good. I just kind of threw it together, combined with what I saw online and what I thought would be good. So let's get right into it. That's the leader. Obviously, y'all know it's the alternate win condition later. When your deck reaches 0, you'll win the game. And if you have Dawn attached on life, you can mill 1 if you land a hit on life. But first up is Kaya. There's your bread and butter. You draw 2 trash 2. You're going to have 4 of her, of course. It's ready to counter with her, but you're going to reuse her a lot with stuff like Overheat. But you see her in every Nami deck. I just run 1 Apis because her ability is kind of... you don't always want to do it. You don't always want to trash 2 cards from your hand. And a lot of the time I just end up countering her. And if you really want to use her more than once, you can reuse her as well with like Zeph or Overheat. And then... another 1-drop character. We got 4 Mr. 1. Mr. 1's like going to regrab all your 1-drop events. Mostly Gavel. There are times though when your hand's too small, you're probably going to regrab Rubber Band of Doom. But he always ends up being like used maybe once or twice a game, and maybe I'll reuse him if I have nothing else to grab. But most of the time he's just going to be used once or twice, and the rest of the time he's going to be countered or trashed off Kaya's effect. Here's the card that I do not see utilized enough in Nami decks. I see a lot of Namis run Brickfist, and Arabesque Brickfist is decent, and the trigger's good and all, but Nojiko I think is better because she bounces a 5-drop, and yeah, you can't bounce your own stuff, but she bounces one of your opponent's 5-drops, and you can reuse her as well with Overheat and Zeph. So I run 3 of her. It's rare that I end up countering her though, like against purple and other stuff, she's really strong, that just run a lot of like 5-drops and stuff and not a lot of top end. I have 2 Belmir, which doesn't get played often. There's just certain matchups like black or maybe purple sometimes, or other ones that have like a lot of KO removal. I'm going to use her because it's not often that I expect to actually land a hit with her. She's mostly just there to be threatening, get cards out of their hand, and the KO effect, which is to mill 3. So I got 2 of her in there. And then here's your best swinger that you'll actually get hits on life with occasionally. You don't have to, but that would be Zeph. You're going to use him to either bounce like 3-drops that you think are really threatening, or you're going to bounce your own stuff with it, like your Kayas and your Nojikos, your Mr. 1s, your Apises. And mill 2 each time. A lot of the time he's a game ender for me. Like I'll be towards the bottom of the deck and just be able to... I have like 1 Kaya in hand, I'll play the Kaya and then play the Zeph, and then mill 2, return the Kaya, play the Kaya again. And a lot of the times that can win me the game. So like his effect's just really strong, so even if you never land him, he's something your opponent has to deal with, and he gets you through a lot of cards. I just run 1 Soga King, and it's definitely not because having more isn't in my budget. But no, it's mostly because it's pretty situational. You're actually going to play him. It's like only when your opponent's really relying on one thing on their board, maybe you Nojicode the other stuff and they didn't establish like a new body, then you can bounce a 6-drop, draw 2 trash 2. And because most of the time 7's like too much, you're going to want to leave Dawn open for events. But situationally he can be played, and then he's also pretty good endgame too. If you just see him towards the bottom of your deck, you have no other ways to mill that he gets you another 2 cards. So he can win the game for me sometimes too. We got the events package. That's all we got for bodies. But we have Impel Down All-Stars. This is your Kaya trash fodder. You only want to see this in your life, pretty much, for the draw 2 effect. That's where it's really strong. Otherwise, it's just really good to trash because it's just a brick in hand. Like, you're never going to use that ability. Your leader's not even Impel Down. But the trigger's cracked, so that's why we use it. We got 4 Pot of Greed. You're going to see this in every single Nami deck. To draw 2 trigger, pay 3, draw 2 on your turn. Really strong, but nothing else to say about that really that hasn't really already been said. So we got 4 Desert Spada for the first of our counter events. I really like this card. The trigger, draw 2 Trash 1. It's like Trash 1 doesn't sound as good as as juicy as All Stars or Peel Off. I mean, obviously draw 2 Trash 1 is still a really strong effect, but the whole point is it still draws you 2 through your deck. So even if you're trashing the other card, you're still drawing 2, so it's just as good of a trigger in Nami as Peel Off or Impel Down All Stars. But looking at the top 3 is also pretty good. So you can just organize what's coming next. We got 4 Rubber Band of Doom. This one also gets you through 2 cards. The trigger is just as good numbers-wise through the deck because you draw 1 and trash 1 on trigger. But you're also going to mill 1 every time you use it on defense. So this one's going to be really good. A play I like to do a lot is to, if I have like 2 Dawn open and I notice they're not going to swing more on top of it, is I'll Spada first, and then I'll reorganize the top 3 with what I want to mill off Rubber Band of Doom, and then I'll use Rubber Band of Doom. So Spada kind of helps you not trash those cards that you really want to don't want to trash, like Peel Off and Kaya. 4 Gum Gum Giant Gavel. This one's your best event for sure. It only defends your leader, but that's kind of all you need. You mill 2 each time you use it. You trash a card from your hand. This has won me so many games. It's actually ridiculous. Like, most of the time, I end up winning during my opponent's turn because I'll get close enough to just be able to do it on defense with events like Love Beam and Giant Gavel. And I'll just draw, or Deathwink, and I'll just draw a bunch of cards, or mill a bunch of cards during my opponent's turn. So this card's ridiculously strong. You're going to re-grab it with Mr. 1 a lot. But really good card. We got 4 Overheat. I see a lot run 3, but I think having 4 Overheat's really good, and even if you don't want to use all 4, you can always trash it with Kaya. But the effect's just really strong. You can bounce 3-drop, and then the bounce a 4 trigger, which is the same as Giant Gavel. You reuse your Kayas, reuse all the other stuff, or just bounce something you don't like. But a lot of time you're going to overheat your Kayas back to your hand, or whatever else you want to use that's out there. But pretty strong. And then I run 3 Love Mellow. And the reason why it's 3 and not 4 is, well, 1, I couldn't really find more room in the deck. It's like, sure, I could take out like Sniper King or something. But I think 3 is a really good amount because a lot of the time it's going to end up bricking in, well, not bricking, but a lot of the time it's going to end up not getting its value in your hand if you have a larger hand, which can happen a lot in Nami. Like, there's been a lot of times I just have like upwards of 10 cards in hand. So you're not always going to be able to draw off that ability. So I think 3 is a really comfortable amount because, on the other hand, it's really cracked to be able to use in the end game when you're just trying to mill those last cards and just to be able to draw. Like, this card's won me a lot of games as well. And then lastly, we got 4 Deathwink. And I don't see all Namis run 4 Deathwink, but I run 4 because that trigger is insane. It's won me games to be able to send back, Gear 4th Luffy in Rebecca and stuff like that. So it's just a really strong trigger, but it's also strong to actually just use. It's also won me a lot of games on defense because you can just pay the 3 when it's the last card in your hand. You can just counter whatever else you have, or just leave enough Dawn open to be able to use the other events in your hand and use this one last, draw 2 cards. Like, that's really strong. Your leader doesn't have to be Impel Down, but the trigger's really strong. That's why I run 4. But yeah, that's the deck. I was able to beat a Zoro into a Red-Green Law, into Queen, into Katakuri, which I lost, and then Rebecca, which I won. So those were the matchups I played, and we got 3rd. Pretty good Nami deck. So that's that. Thanks for watching. Got anything to say, Gegnar?
That deck is corny.
Yeah, this deck's extremely corny.